This meeting is being recorded.
Good evening, viewers. The Idea Factory is back with yet another exciting program for our viewers. Today, we are going to take a step back from our usual business discussions, and we are taking a topic which is very close to our heart but seldom discussed. We are talking about books today. Those of us who are part of the knowledge economy, we feel or we believe that books are a very important ingredient for imparting knowledge to business. And it is important for a cross flow of information from business to books and books to business. With that backdrop, and we have all been, studying or, reading various news and, modifying our thought processes around it. Today, in our discussion, we have two distinguished guests in our platform. Today, we have with us Mr. Soumitra Poddar. Mr. Soumitra Poddar is a director of Strategic Services Consulting and is also an author. He has just published his book, Digital Transformation Implementation Handbook, and he will talk to us on further details around that. We are also being joined by Ms. TAMANNA GUHA. Ms. TAMANNA GUHA joins us in the discussion, and she has a distinguished profile as well. Ms. GUHA is a certified master trainer and capability builder, NLP and hypnosis practitioner, NLP life and mindful coach. She is also a certified Dale Carnegie Train the Trainer Masterclass trainer and is also a posh enabler. As a PGDRM from IIT Ghaziabad and CRM from Symbiosis Pune, she is a practicing NLP life and mindful coach. Ms. GUHA has a working experience in Oriflame and Reliance Digital. With this backdrop, I will hand over the discussion to Mr. GUHA. Ms. Tamanna, please take the discussion forward.
Thank you so much, Abir. It was like overwhelming introduction you've already given. So I'll just, I'm a corporate trainer and coach, and I have done around 500 plus workshops and have covered around 30,000 plus employees till then. And majorly trainings have been into leadership and behavioral training. So, and yes, as rightly said, I'm also an NLP and hypnosis practitioner. NLP is neuro-linguistic programming, which deals with advanced psychology. So yeah, so this is wonderful. The platform is wonderful. Everything is going wonderful. So I will not take too much of my time and forward this to Soumitra. Soumitra, kindly introduce yourself, and then we'd like to know from both Soumitra and from Abir, like about your books. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Thank you, Abir and Tamanna, for the introduction and the nice words. So basically, my background is I'm from IIT Kharagpur School of Management, and I've been in the technology industry for the past 3 decades. I've kind of done implementation and practice around projects with PwC and IBM for about 20 odd years, both in India as well as overseas. And right now I've got my own lab. It's called Strategic Services. And we basically work on data and its insights. So we work on projects involving IoT, which is the Internet of Things, on AI. There are robots which have been built and its applications. So how does it kind of enable companies, organizations to digitize their operations? So that is my background, and I thought as a part of my give back, I wanted to pen down my experiences so that it can enable young entrepreneurs to kind of those with basically say a non-tech background, if they can adopt and use, because we all know that technology is an important platform in terms of getting the structure and in order for them to kind of scale up. So this book is a kind of an enabler in terms of how those who want to kind of develop on the tech platform, number one. Number two is that, again, digital transformation is a big buzzword, and employees are kind of grappling with all the components. So this book talks about the various components, how does it integrate together, and how it enables people to kind of upskill. And number three is that it also enables MSME post-COVID who wants to digitize their operation as a kind of a starting block. So that's the basic introduction.
Wow, that's wonderful. So yeah, so also would like to know from Abir. Abir, please tell us about your book. I mean, yeah.
Right. My book is called Thought Leadership in India. And the book has come out a bit early in 2019 before COVID. By now, I have had about 2 interviews so far, which can be, seen along with this video, which kinds of adds up because in that case, in those 2 videos, I've discussed a bit more and nitty-gritties about the concept of the book. And that was on the early days of the launch. That is within 2019 and 20, I, discussed those videos around. Typically, thought leadership in India has actually born out of my own experience in the corporate world. And when I came out of the corporate world, I came out with a lot of ideas. And I felt that corporate world is not giving me an outlet to the various ideas or the various improvements that were possible in the role that I was playing. I had a very prestigious role in the corporate. I worked as a strategy planning professional and I worked with the top management all along, right from the beginning of my career till the end. I worked, and so I could see an organization from a distance and I kind of owned it. But at some point, I found that it was not very innovative and various ideas were not, whenever I used to bounce up ideas, somewhere it gets stuck and it would always restrict to the role, ideas within the role. And then I found that the role is much bigger. And so when I came out of the job role, a lot of ideas came into me mind and I thought, why not write about it? Because by now I was about 15 years of work experience and several of these ideas I put it down in the book. Along with it, I also scanned the economy, the world during that period. I mean, there were so many issues that were happening if you read the daily newspapers. So I studied the economy. There was various suggestions that I had for the economy. There were various suggestions that I had for businesses, for working professionals. So put together, I made it into a package and thought leadership in India was born. So typically, if I had my wishes, this book should have been handed over to the Prime Minister of India and told them this is my contribution to the development of the country. And perhaps, I could have contributed much more. My ideas were there, laid out, penned down. But yes, it is as big as that. But then, you have to make your own journey and somewhere reach the Prime Minister of India at some point.
Prime Minister of India. Yes, yes.
So that was the bond within that. So I stuck to the concept called thought leadership, and through various platforms, I have been talking about thought leadership. One is that is the idea, and also I have been working on business, like I am also an entrepreneur. So I have 2 vehicles in which I connect with the world. So various of these ideas, and I am in a continuous discussion with consultants, with businesses, etc., where new and futuristic ideas. So typically, I'm building a package around thought leadership through my book and my entrepreneurship, and I am taking it forward across the world. So as a thought process, it is going to stay with me for the rest of my life. So that's the theme on thought leadership, which is nothing but futuristic thinking, and which is very catchy and which is evergreen. Like you called up futuristic thinking, it is always evergreen. You can talk about it, yes, 5 years back, you can talk about it 5 years later down the line. But yeah, this is the background of the book and maybe more later. So Tamanna, you can.
Yeah. So I what I understand is thought leadership and digital transformation implementation handbook both are creating waves. So my next question goes to Soumitra. Soumitra, I would like to know how your book is going to evolve in near future. So how do you see it in future? So please tell us about that. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So India is emerging, right? India is planning to become a $5 trillion economy. And basically the government has put forward a lot of kind of structural reforms, and a lot of it is based on the tech platform. So if I just give a few examples that, for example, we are right now, migrating from cash to a lot of the UPI movement, which has seen huge volumes. Basically, NPCI, which is kind of founder of UPSCI, has created an interface between banks and the consumers in terms of fintech. So we are using things like the Phone Pay, the Google Pay, etc. And all this is kind of based on the tech platform. There are
Mhm.
also such programs which is coming on, which is called the ONDC, which is kind of going to create a revolution in terms of the retail chain, right? How do we connect the small store people in terms of the demand as well as the supply?
Mm.
So that is number two. Number three is that there is a lot of job opportunities in terms of its data, the insights which are being given in terms of data analytics. So what is data analytics basically? Is that we kind of cull data from various sources. It could be both the structured source, which is basically the transaction based systems which we have, and
Okay.
it could be a lot of the unstructured source. Unstructured source means the comments which we put in social media on a particular brand, right? So how do we take out those comments
Right.
and then put it into a kind of a dashboard which enables kind of decision making.
Mm.
So in terms of data analytics, these are all chapters in my books, and
Yes.
there is a lot of strides and importance also being placed. And the last point is in terms of artificial intelligence and
Yes.
cyber.
Yes.
So these
Yeah.
are also very much key milestones which is there. What is artificial intelligence? Artificial intelligence means that again we create layers of knowledge.
Right.
It could be in terms of the machine which is extracting the data,
Okay.
and then how do we kind of take certain actions? How do we kind of have when repetitive things in terms of say robotics kind of look into operations in supply chain, etc. So I think these would be the next waves in terms of the adoption. The primers are being defined in the book, so it can be a great enabler.
Great. So I was actually going through the contents and I was in fact thinking of asking you about this AI and the robotics thing. But yes, one thing I'd like to ask you, Soumitra, if that is okay, like could you tell us something about that cloud computing stuff that you have in your book?
Yeah. So cloud computing is a very fundamental shift which is happening.
Okay.
What happens is that earlier we were used to the components of the data servers which were resident in enterprises. That means people used to invest a lot in kind of the machines, the hardware. Hardware means the servers, etc. We used to create infrastructure in
Okay.
terms of having a separate room, having kind of security and authorization, having people to manage it, to have the availability of the servers, etc.
Right.
So what is the trend now is that we kind of move that.
Okay.
That means we de-risk ourselves and we focus on our core competency, which is actually our the way we produce our say products if we are manufacturing or we render services, and the data and the servers are pushed onto the so-called cloud. Cloud in a sense means that it's pushed onto another site which
Right.
is more specialized in nature,
Right.
and which hosts that and which provides the services of, typically these are governed by service level agreements. Say it has a 99% uptime, etc. And they charge you by the fees are more not capex in nature, but it's opex. That means these are kind of
Okay.
operating expenditure.
Operating expenditures. Yes.
So the chief financial officer would benefit in terms of not having clumsy assets on his balance sheet, but would have, you can write it off in your profit and loss statements.
Right.
So these are the typical benefits which you get. So the key benefits are: one, you get an uptime in terms of the server, which you can use for various kind of activities. With 5G coming, there will be a lot of data and its usages
Mm-hmm.
being done. So we get that peace of the mind that it's an assured service which we get. We don't
Right.
have to maintain it, so we don't need to employ tech people around it. And number three is from a finance perspective, it is pay as you go, kind of pay by quarter, pay by year, etc., and not upfront invest. So these are the some of the basic principles of cloud, and that is again there are various models, hybrid model, all that is very simply explained in terms of the cloud computing chat.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So thank you so much, Soumitra. So now my second question will definitely go to Abid. Abid would like to understand that yes, your book, I think it has already been launched and it is it is there in the market for a few years. So how you think it has evolved in the last 3 years? I think how you think it has evolved, the book?
I think the concept of thought leadership has improved a lot because, first of all, it has given me a different identity. When I left my job, I was, the seriousness that you carry with your corporate tag. And then as a knowledge worker, I wanted to create something on my own and I want to create in future as well. So first of all, it gave me an identity and a lot of more people were open to talk to me because I was an author. Okay, so that kind of opened a lot of window of opportunities for people, which was not happening before I launched. Okay, so to a large extent, it gave me a lot of credibility. And because I stuck to a theme, this also gives me an opportunity to consistently build up this topic through various mediums. Okay, so when I am talking to, there are two vehicles. First of all, as I told you, the concept of thought leadership has been built is, first of all, as an author, it's a solitary job. You write on your own. You don't have to depend on anybody else. But at the same time, if you are writing on various ideas, these ideas also have to be implemented. And then only the success of ideas will come. So through that, I created two vehicles of my own to engage with the world, which is the Learning Hall and the Idea Factory. Today, we are talking through the Idea Factory platform. I have another platform called the Learning Hall, and we are trying to, communicate with the world through these two platforms on various ideas and innovations and things like that. So to that extent, thought leadership has come as a concept has evolved. I've also created a kind of a reasonable size of my reader base. And fortunately, I'm writing a book which enables me to connect to corporates or SMEs or small businesses who can be my potential readers. So I don't have to, try separately to create a reader base of my book. And they work hand in hand. So as I'm working with businesses, I'm also creating a certain amount of reader base for them. And, together when we engage into a dialogue, a lot of these ideas get corrected. For example, I'll tell you, there are at least 3 or 4 ideas which I wrote in my book 3 years back. And if it has been launched 3 years back, obviously I've written it a bit more. These kind of news are actually coming up in the newspaper today. So it was definitely futuristic thinking at this point in time. For example, very recently, the Prime Minister was talking about the rise of the working age. It has created a lot of buzz as to why working age should be increased or not, and that concept has already been covered in my book. And that was a very simple logic, because if the head of the nation can work, has no age limit, then why should the other people have an age limit? Why shouldn't there be a free flow? Let him decide if he wants to work till 60 or 65 or is there a norm that we work on? Should 60 be the right cutoff age? Because many of us are, in the middle age. We want to extend it to beyond 60. Okay. If you see Amitabh Bachchan, if you see Lata Mangeshkar, they work till 70, 80 years of age because they could. Okay. So there are various such ideas. I have discussed it even to professionals, because there were so many conflicts of my individual ideas that I came and I found it in the corporate life, and there was no one to listen to. Typically, if you imagine a corporate as an individual and your value system is being built, a corporate also should exhibit that value system. So those kind of conflicts have been discussed, and I'm also doing workshops and trainings with corporates to work out what are their current conflicts and whether they can also be pulled out. One of the recent points which I do regularly talk, and one of the recent points that I have discussed is why people are, when people are taken, is there a methodology where you can control the job loss? Because job loss can happen any day. Is there a methodology where you can stop, or whether there's a mechanism as a nation we can build up where job loss can be prevented, because people are being taken in and tomorrow they are being put out. These are, various small ideas. I'm sure there are very other big ideas. We can discuss that in further sessions, and I do definitely discuss my ideas in various platforms. But definitely, various improvement aspects of India, and because India is a knowledge economy, and we are playing bigger and bigger role as a knowledge player in the world economy. It is important to build the country through a knowledge foundation. Also, if ideas get converted into reality, there are a lot of jobs that can be created in the ground. Okay, here we are in India, there is a serious problem of job creation, and people are not seeing the kind of jobs that they used to see 5 years back or 10 years back. And perhaps new ideas or thought leadership or futuristic thinking could be a unique opportunity for the country to convert new ideas into reality and create jobs in the process. It would definitely strengthen the capability of the nation and would improve the GDP of the country. I think I hand it over to Tamanna.
Nice. But yeah, so as a trainer, I have one question. So the question is that we have been doing a lot of sessions on leadership. So can you please just give me with one example, can you please help me understand what is the difference between a leader and a thought leader?
A thought leader, a leader is, we know what a leader is. Leader leads through his vision, he leads a team of people, okay, or he leads a nation, or he leads a team. Thought leadership is one step before. Your leadership starts with your thinking process, which means that you can foresee or you can talk of improvement areas. You also bring in changes, right? So typically, worldwide, there is a concept called thought leadership, but it is not very well developed. But typically, thought leaders are people like I would say the authors of the US. You can say of
yes, I have seen you mentioning a lot of authors. So two of them I have noted: Rachel Botsman and Jonah Berger. So you saying them as a thought leader. So so
thought leaders are the ones who typically build up on a futuristic basis. I remember in my college days, we were reading a book called Third Wave by Alvin Toffler. And that book kind of baffled me because we are still in the academic field of mind. This book was purely futuristic, and it built. It was at that point in time, the knowledge economy was just building up, and how knowledge and information is going to change the world, how it will be all together. So typically, he imagined globalization at that point in time. Okay, here today we are experiencing what is globalization, but in those days, he imagined globalization before it happened. So typically, a thought leader is someone who imagines a future before it exists, and because he imagines, the world follows. So typically, he's leading the world in that respect.
Wow! So he is actually a visionary.
He is a visionary, and he connects the dots from the present to create the future, and also brings in his own thoughts to take it to the forward. It's a very powerful thought process. And there are in India, there's also a platform called Thought Leaders of India. So India is also gearing up to this concept, and more people are building thought leadership around.
Right. So wonderful. Thank you so much. I mean, it was so enriching to know stuff like that. So so my third question will go to Soumitra. Soumitra, would like to know from you how the book of yours, with the help of the book, how you are planning to build the decade, the future. What are your ideas? I mean, what are your thoughts?
So basically, what we're trying to do is that one is that we are working with a number of educational institutes and trying to give sessions more at the, it's at the B school level, at the engineering level, etc. Because they have ideas about, the digital part of it. But what they lack is probably the implementation and certain case studies. So how we can take them along, number one. Number two is that we are working with a number of chambers of commerce in terms of talking to their members in terms of the enterprises. And there is a lot of interest which we see in terms of especially the medium and the small scale entrepreneurs in terms of how do they adopt digitization. Nowadays, we don't need to explain about the fact what are the benefits of digitization, because with the impact of COVID, which was for about 2 odd years, they realized that digitization is important, and they need to kind of put in planned budgets and investments around it to kind of you take it forward. So we are working with a number of enterprises also in terms of how do we spread digitization. For example, we are talking to organizations in which they have got manufacturing setups, and that's where typically a lot of there are a lot of both contractual stuff and a bit of permanent stuff, but they're typically the neglected lot because there's a lot of activities in the head office level. People know about digitization or have got exposure around it, but in the manufacturing setup, which is still away, there needs to be some effort which needs to be put in to automate the supply chain processes.
Right. Okay.
So we are looking at those areas. We are talking to a number of, we are trying to support a number of women entrepreneurs who have got brilliant ideas and would like to scale up. So how do they scale up their journey in terms of putting it into various platforms to digitize their business processes and then to kind of take it forward? And the last is we are working with a few government institutions in terms of spreading the word, so that because the government has got a lot of initiatives to kind of take it forward. So for example, Northeast is a big area in which there is a lot of activities being done. Earlier it was a lot neglected, and now we are trying, people are trying to get it integrated, so we're working with those.
So yes, so when I was going through, the book and the executive summary of yours, so I was seeing that it has been specifically mentioned that although government has taken it as a very important and highly, it was a very major project, like digitalization is a very major project, but implementation actually is difficult. So that is the concern, right? So I have a question that how you are doing it in a city, it is okay. How are we doing it in the small towns or like in the villages? It is like, how can we penetrate? I mean, what are your plans on
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's a good question, actually. So what we're trying to do is kind of partner with like-minded organizations. So for example, there are a few NGOs who have got reskilling as a target objectives. There are a lot of CSR funds which are being garnered towards the aspect of knowledge, towards reskilling. So we would like to work with practitioners who we can partner with because it is not possible for us to take the journey forward. So we could adopt methods like train the trainers, right? So how do we train a group of trainers? They in turn would go out and then reach out to the target audience and then kind of train them in terms of skilling and reskilling. And that is the method basically. So it's more of collaboration. We are looking at a lot of collaborations to kind of and work with such organizations to take it forward.
Wonderful, wonderful. Because yeah, so penetration in small towns. I mean, that is the mass of India. That is what they say. So the penetration is highly important. Yeah. Thank you so much, Soumitra. Yeah.
Just one more point I wanted to add,
Yes,
that
yes,
there is
please.
a lot of adoption of in tier 2, tier 3, especially from a mobile setup perspective. So people are adopting, and thanks to the penetration by the telecom companies, especially Geo, etc., and now 5G is also being launched. So there is a lot of adoption within the young people in terms of what it happens, what are the applications. So for example, YouTube, right? This video is going to be hosted on YouTube by Abir. So hopefully it will reach the masses in terms of if they can go through it, and then maybe they can, as a primer, read the book. Number 2, and number 3 is that if they've got further interest, they can engage with us, right? So in terms of taking it forward.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Yeah, the same question goes to Abir. What are your plans of building the future or the decade, however you call it? How are you going to go about this? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm in a very interesting phase. Today, I have, we have, connected to a lot of people already through thought leadership. And, my only method of engagement with them is, innovation and futuristic ideas. And then we are also working together to convert certain ideas into reality. Okay, and that is the most, and then getting it financially monetized, recognized. Because if your idea gets converted into the particular revenue for a company or whatever, that actually the real test or the entire journey of the idea is complete after it goes and gets implemented and creates some impact in the market. So that is the journey that each idea that we are propagating from here. And we believe that everybody has ideas. The whole process is that. That is why we say that thought leadership is a very powerful tool. Not only we have ideas, but every organization has ideas, but also every individual has ideas. So this is a very powerful, tool to which you can connect to any B2B or any B2C also, and build a platform. As more people come forward, many of these ideas will get translated because now we are together as an ecosystem. So it is important. So what we are building, we are actually creating an ecosystem through around thought leadership and also through Idea Factory, as well as my other outfit, which is Learning Hall. And, as we create this entire ecosystem of impact, obviously this will definitely create the impact over the market. And we foresee this to be a powerful, very powerful tool, which has the potential of being a movement. Why we call it a movement? Because it is just like, and when I wrote the book, I thought it to be a movement. But today there are businesses which are already a movement. Like Facebook is today, everywhere. So with the technology and this kind of unites the Idea Factory with strategic services or my work with Soumitra work, because today you need technology to drive anything in the market. Okay, so tomorrow if you ask me if I want to merge or converge the thoughts that we have or the areas that we are working vis-a-vis the work that Soumitra does, will be merged at a particular point where technologically we can convert ideas into reality. Through technology we can create a kind of a Facebook kind of an environment, or a LinkedIn kind of an environment where we connect with the whole world through ideas. We have an overall outside platform which is free, which communicates through free ideas, and there are layers in it. There are layer 2, layer 3, layer 4. When you go into the deeper sections of idea selection, discussion, implementation, and then conversion into reality, or the impact that you create in the market. So if you put it on a graded model, you create a graded Facebook, and your thought leadership movement is born already. So in that way, there is certain amount of tie-up or synergy that's already happening here. We are coming with the ideas, and Soumitra is helping with the technology and tools and current methodologies, so that we can take it to the market in a more systematic way. And that we see is a futuristic model also, because that is how people will communicate through technology, sitting at home in their mobile or whatever device they have 5 years down the line. And they will stay connected with us. We will exchange ideas with them, convert these ideas into reality. They will see the impact. You can imagine the impact that ideas can have to create the next level of globalization can come through idea generation, also through innovation or whatever. There's a lot of excitement around innovation also. Today we have been mentioning, and there's already a lot of work on innovation already happening in India. If you have heard about T-Hub, which is in Hyderabad, which is the largest innovation campus in the world, and the whole world has got connected. They are, incubating smaller businesses, but it's a particular great hub where which is creating ripples in the market. So a lot of innovation is already happening, and I'm sure we can also, strengthen the innovation game that is happening in India, and that is the real point to success. I mean, to growth. If you want to take India to the next level, you will have to innovate and you have to lead the nation. So if you are talking of globalization, tomorrow we are also working so that India leads the nation. No more we with the developed world will lead us. We should also be leading the movements and changes and things like that. So we are all working in that direction.
Okay, so thank you, Abir, and thank you, Soumitra, and best wishes for your books. One last question is that how Idea Factory and Strategic Solutions is planning to take this thing forward Already you have spoken about it, Abir.
I
know,
have
but
spoken. Soumitra da
I
may
know.
add to it.
I know.
Yeah.
I'd like.
So as Abir rightly explained, that basically the ideas are the main thought processes. Ideas could lead to continuous improvement, right? So continuous improvement leads to betterment of product and services. So it is a constant evolution. Point number one. Point number two is that it is not only at leadership level that these ideas and innovation comes. Typically, it occurs at all the stages. So in IBM, when I was leading the BP practice, basically the practitioners on the ground, and there were about 200 members who were working on various skills and various functions who used to contribute ideas. Now, why? Because they are very deeply associated with the construct. So they know the pitfalls. So whenever somebody is designing an interface, and if it fails, he or she would know that what are the root causes much better. So when they talk about it, it leads to a continuous improvement, and that gets tracked. And then if you can implement it, the client also likes it. So that is number two. And number three is that, so ideas and technology from a strategy perspective, strategy is the first step. Once that gets aligned, it can get converted into tech, So basically, even tech strategy is a part of the first step. How do we kind of put in the landscape? What is the architecture? We talked a bit about cloud. What is the big data? How do we structure that? So all that, it's a combination of the two. So that's how Idea Factory and Strategic Services would like to work and take it forward.
Okay, that's wonderful. Thank you so much, Abir, and thank you so much, Soumitra. So yeah, Abir, so I am done with my questions. I am done with my questions. Yeah.
Thank you. We should expect our readers to read our books because that also gives away a lot of ideas which we have not been able to cover in these video sessions. A lot of ideas will actually get converted, and Soumitra's book also, because a lot of thought, his own entire experience has been, captured. See, books are actually, if you want a deeper knowledge, you have to go through books. So we all read and we also try to write. So basically, we are also wanting our own people to read and get whatever knowledge we are giving it away. So this is also a message to whoever is viewing, that you read our books, see what is it there for you, your own takeaways, and then you connect with us. We also have a vehicle wherein you can connect with us. We are building, we would love to stay connected. So not only we have the idea, we are also, building a support system to convert your ideas also into reality. So let us all, come together and make this entire big workforce to improve India and the world. That is my message. And thank you, Tamanna, and thank you, Soumitra, for your great knowledge and, your own support system for passing it. I have seen how much, efforts you have taken.